And just to slightly push back on Mark, even if you tell me and you prove that they're gang members, I'm not so sure that I'm okay with them being sent off to be tortured in a foreign country, but I'll leave that aside.
All right, Q-Tip, bet. Let's bring them all back here under one condition. And I haven't heard anyone who's actually accepted my terms, so maybe you'll be the first. We'll bring them all back here, but you have to house about 3 to 5 of these potential gang members. You know, I'm sure you have a guest room somewhere. If not, I'm sure you have a bedroom. And you will sleep on the couch. You, and if you're married, will sleep on the couch. And these gangbangers, potential gangbangers, will sleep in your bed. And you have to house them and clothe them and feed them and take care of them, everything else like that. If you don't want them in your house, then we're going to put them in the house right next to you. So now we're going to put about 10 to 12 of them in the house next to you. Someplace where you're going to have to run into them every day. And they are basically going to be your problem. They're going to be your neighbors. They're going to live next to you. Whatever they do is going to directly affect you. So if you agree to those conditions, then sure, let's bring them back.
What's up, taters? This is Tree from treeoflogic.com. Welcome to my channel, The Treehouse News. And oh my God, I got a good video for you today. It's been a long time since I did a fact-checking video against a demon rat, but here we are. There was a big, fat, greasy Kentucky Fried Chicken finger licking fat body named Eli Mistol. He was on The View and he was spewing a bunch of lies and a bunch of nonsense, and also he was revising U.S. history. Now this video blew me away. We watched a little bit on my live stream and I had to make a video about it. You're gonna love it. Trust me, I promise you, you will. So let's sit back and I'm going to fact check and debunk most of the stuff that he's saying. And the rest of it is just so crazy. It doesn't even require debunking. It's just ludicrous.
We need to smash the things that they like. We need to smash the things that are holding this country back.
So we already starting off with violence. When I tell you these people are projecting, they're always projecting. We need to smash. They always use violent rhetoric.
And so I came up with 10 laws that we could just be rid of. Not reform, not update for the modern era. 10 things that we can smash if we ever are allowed to get power again.
Lord help you if you do. I don't see you ever getting power for several years because you guys are so unhinged. You guys are anti-women. You're definitely against black people, but most of them are too dumb to see that, so that's on them. And you just don't like America and you don't like Americans. So I think people are going to be voting Republican for a very long time.
That would make this country better tomorrow.
See? I love this book. You are dead on, and it is a fantastic book. One of the laws you write about is playing out right now, the Immigration and Nationality Act. Now, this administration is using this statute to justify the detentions and possible deportations, actually, of Visa and Green card holders who they seem to deem a threat to U.S. foreign policy. What do you make of the administration's use of the act? And more broadly, is Trump really setting up a First Amendment showdown, which is what Whoopi's been talking about?
Yes, absolutely. One of my premises for the book is that every law passed before the 1965 Voting Rights Act should be presumptively unconstitutional, right? But because before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we were functionally an apartheid country.
Okay. There was a lot of lies spewed there. So first he said that every law before the 1965 Voting Act should be unconstitutional. So this clown wants to abolish freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. You know, who's the side that's always protesting? The demon rats. They're the side that's always marching, especially them women with them damn pink hats. Okay. Who was just marching not too long ago against Elon and President Trump? So this clown wants to remove the right to protest, the right to free speech, the right to practice your religion. He also wants to remove guns from everybody. Well, that is the party that's anti-guns, but okay, here we are. He also wants to remove the law that doesn't force you to take in soldiers and have them stay at your house. So he doesn't want the right to a speedy trial. Okay. He doesn't want the protection against cruel and unusual punishment. He doesn't want abolishment of slavery. So this clown wants to make slavery legal again. Isn't this the party that's always talking about slavery? Oh my God, reparations, slavery. Like, nobody's calling him out on any of this. And so here's some more. I'm not going to go through all these. Like, you guys know what's going on. I asked Grok, what political party overwhelmingly passed the 13th Amendment, and what were the voting numbers between the Democrats and the Republicans? Grok states the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which abolished slavery, was overwhelmingly passed by the Republican Party. It was ratified on December 6, 1865, during the Reconstruction era following the Civil War. In the House of Representatives, the amendment passed on January 31st, 1865, with a vote of 119 in favor and 56 against. Here's the breakdown of the vote by party. Republicans, 86 voted in favor of abolishing slavery. Zero. None. No Republican voted in favor of slavery. But the Demon Rats? Oh no. The Democrats overwhelmingly voted in favor of slavery. 50 voted to keep slavery alive and kicking. In the Senate, the amendment had passed earlier on April 8th, 1864. That was a year before it went into the House of Representatives. And in the Senate, again, the Demon Rats voted overwhelmingly to keep slavery legal. The Republicans, still standing true on behalf of slaves, voted 36-0, meaning 36 Republicans in the Senate voted to abolish slavery. But in the Demon Rats, the Democrats, only 2 voted to abolish slavery, while 6 voted to keep slavery legal. Now, let's not forget that the Republican Party, founded in 1850 as an anti-slavery party, provided the overwhelming support for the 13th Amendment, while the Demon Rats, aka the Democrat Party, which had a significant faction of pro-slavery members, particularly from the South, largely opposed it. So Big Buffalo Butt right here wants blacks to be slaves again. And nobody called him out on it. No one. They just let him just spew off at the mouth. So let me rewind to the part where he talks about apartheid.
Right? Because before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we were functionally an apartheid country.
Now, a lot of you don't know this, but I tend to go into some libtard spaces. And one thing I always do to shut these people down is when they use certain words, I make them go define it, because they're known to use words like racism, genocide, and in this case, apartheid. And they don't know the definition of these words. They just say it because they heard some other clown say it. So let's look at the definition of apartheid. An official policy of racial segregation formerly practiced in the Republic of South Africa, involving political, legal, and economic discrimination against non-whites. A policy or practice of separating or segregating groups. The condition of being separated from others. Segregation. So once again, I go to Grok and I ask, was America ever an apartheid country? Grok says, no. America wasn't officially an apartheid country like South Africa from 1948 to 1994, but the Jim Crow South, which was ran by Democrats from 1890s to the 1960s, had legal segregation, disenfranchisement, and white dominance similar to apartheid. It was state-driven, not national, and lack of term apartheid ending with the 1960s civil rights law. So I asked the follow-up question. Which states along the party affiliation supported segregation for blacks from whites along with discrimination against blacks? The answer was simple. During the Jim Crow era from 1890s to the 1960s, southern states dominated by the Democratic Party supported segregation and discrimination against black Americans. Here are the key examples: Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Texas, and Virginia. These states enacted Jim Crow laws upheld by Democratic legislatures and governors, enforcing segregation and disenfranchisement under federal intervention in the 1960s. Republicans had little Southern power then. So what Burnt Turkey here is saying, it's just a bunch of lies. And this right here, just saying that America was an apartheid state, it's like saying that Palestine is being genocide. How?
Not everybody who lived here could vote here. So why should I give about some law that some old white man passed in the 1920s, like the Immigration and Nationality Act? When they passed our fundamental immigration law, Congress said in real time that they needed the law to prevent the, quote, mongrelization of the white race by the inferior races.
Now, okay, let me tell you what I did, because these people lie. They lie a lot. So what I did is I went on to Google and I said, who in Congress said that they need a law to prevent the mongrelization of the white race by the inferior races? And his book comes up. It's quoted out of his book. Nobody in Congress said this. I even looked in some of these other, like the Equal Justice Initiative. They're quoting out of his book. They're actually writing dissertations and also essays and articles quoting from his book. So he just lied. And as you can see, it just ends basically here. But he just lied and said that that's what Congress said. That is not what Congress said. And once again, you got to fact check these people because they love lying.
Now I look at that law and I say, I don't think that's so good. I don't think we should still be using it, but we are still using it today. That is the authority that Trump is using to criminalize people and to pull people's Visa cards.
No, he's not. Another lie.
Marco Rubio, that comes from the 1956 updates in the 1921 Act. Now, I personally do not think that I can convince people to open their hearts and minds to immigration. I understand that in our failing country, treating people with respect and decency and humanity is a controversial position.
Okay, I love all of this anger as if we should give these people who don't have any respect and any compassion for the citizens in America. They have come here and they have violated the women, the children, and just regular old men and just regular citizens. How many women have died under these men? How many children have been R-worded due to these men? These demon rats, they want the illegals to violate children. Democrats don't care about kids. We know that. And they damn sure don't care about women. Who's the party allowing men to infiltrate women's sports? Who's the party that allowing men into women's bathrooms, into women's jails, getting pregnant? A woman that's incarcerated is getting pregnant by her inmate. That's a biological male. Who's allowing these women to get violated by illegal immigrants, let alone criminals that they don't incarcerate that are American citizens? It's the Democrat Party. These people act like they give a damn about blacks, women, and children, and they don't.
And I cannot change their minds. But we can dang sure make sure that we're not putting people in jail for the crime of existing.
Right.
That we're not putting people in jail for the crime of not filling out the form in triplicate in the right time and submitting it to the right agent. Criminal immigration status offenses should not be criminal offenses. They should be civil offenses.
Wait. This clown wants people who come into our country illegally, which is a crime. He wants that to be civil. He wants a criminal act to be a civil act. Let that just sink in. Also, I caught the lie where he says that they're putting people in jail because they fill out the wrong form. No. They're put in jail because they have been living in our country illegally for years and they just got caught by ICE. Thanks to Poopy Pants Joe Biden, they were allowed to stay here and nobody checked them. Also, if they were in a sanctuary city, there was nothing ICE can do because other demon rat politicians prevented the federal government from coming into sanctuary cities and removing the most dangerous gang members, the most dangerous felons, the most dangerous illegal aliens that were criminals and harming American citizens, children and women mainly, and remove them and incarcerate them and deport them after they serve their time. We got people like this who says that's wrong.
We shouldn't be ripping people away from their families because they didn't fill out the paperwork correct.
Okay, so let me just, I don't know how many times I got to debunk this thing about ripping people from families. Do you know in America, children are not allowed to go to an adult jail with their parents? Boom, headshot. I know you guys don't like kids. I know, I get it. You hate children. So you want open season on these children by allowing them into adult prisons so they can be with their family, right? Listen, in America, when an American citizen breaks the law and they have their children with them, sorry, mommy and daddy got to go to jail, and the child is either passed off to CPS or to an adult that is related to him or her based upon the recommendation of the mother or father that's being arrested. So if the father is being arrested, then that child is handed off to the biological mother. If there is no biological mother, then it's a stepmother or an aunt or a sister or a cousin. That's how that works. Children do not go to jail with their parents, idiot. The same thing we apply to American citizens, we apply it to these illegal aliens. If Jose committed a crime in front of his daughter Maria, then Jose has to go to the jail without little Maria. We always separate families when the adult family member commits a crime and they have to go to jail.
What do you see as sort of the marginal changes that are actually really tangible and realistic that could be put in place in the next few years?
I argue that we should eliminate all voter registration laws.
I told you he was going to say something so stupid. You want to abolish all registration laws because you want all of the illegals to vote. This is one of the craziest things he has said, like abolish all registration laws. None of the stupid cackling women over at that table on The View checked him on that. They didn't challenge him on that. They never challenge anybody that's on their own team or that's in their own echo chamber.
Now that might not sound realistic to you, but I promise you that it is, because we already have voter eligibility requirements, right? An eligibility requirement would be like an age limit, right? 18 to vote, I might say you should be 16, but I'm not going to say 8. I've got an 8-year-old who does knock, but I've got an 8-year-old, right? We don't want them voting. But once you meet the eligibility requirement, why can't you automatically be registered to vote?
Because you're registering to vote to make sure you qualify. You cannot be in California, and just because you are legal age, just because you are an American citizen, you can come to Georgia and vote. And vice versa. Voting registration is designed to verify if you are eligible to vote. It's going to verify if you are really a citizen of this country. It's going to verify if you're really 18 years or older. It's going to verify if you are a resident in your voting district. Did you forget about that, dum-dum? So this is why we have voter registration. You guys want to have Lupe from Venezuela. All he has to do is have a ID, which in New York and California, you guys give that out like candy. And that's all y'all need in order to vote, just a government ID? No, it's more than that, clown. We need to make sure that you're eligible. And that's the reason why you all want to get rid of voter registration, because that's the easiest way you can cheat.
That's right.
Having the second step of voter registration needlessly suppresses the votes for no real benefit.
That's a lie. False.
Some people might say, like, oh, it prevents voter fraud. First of all, no, it doesn't. Second of all, voter fraud doesn't exist. Right?
Wait. Wait a minute. Okay, you said it prevents voter fraud, so you deny that it prevents voter fraud, which it does prevent voter fraud. Then you turn around and say voter fraud doesn't exist. Well, I'm sorry, did you give that memo to Stacey Abrams, fat ass? Did you tell, well, when I say fat ass, I'm calling her fat ass, although you are fat ass too. But did you tell Stacey Abrams that? Because Stacey Abrams said that the reason why she lost twice is because of voter fraud. Also, how many times we have heard Hillary Clinton whine about losing the 2016 election to President Trump during his first term? I find it hypocritical that when politicians on your side, the losers on your side, claim that they lost due to voter fraud, you all are like, that's right, girl. These daggone Republicans be cheating. But when anyone on our side says it, you deny voter fraud exists. Which one is it?
I say I want to go fishing somewhere, and you say, you can't go fishing there. I say, why? Because the Loch Ness Monster might get you. Like that.
What? Oh my God, I think he's on crack. You're complaining about the fact that voter fraud doesn't exist because if you want to go fishing, you can't because the Loch Ness Monster. Hey, if anybody knows how to speak libtard language and can translate that joke for me, please do so in the comments below because I totally didn't get that. How does the Loch Ness Monster have anything to, the whole scenario, and I don't know if he was trying to make a joke, that just fell flat. And that's the reason why nobody was laughing. I think he just confused everybody. Even the cackling hens at the daggone table couldn't even get that.
That's shut up. That's not a good reason to have a law, right? Let's get rid of that, right? So I think that if we open up the aperture to voting to more people, to get some of those 90 million people who stayed home on the couch, to get them to have easier access to the ballot, I think some of these larger changes that I talk in the book.
But they don't want
more ways of cheating, more ways of cheating, more ways of cheating, like they did in 2020. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Allegedly, YouTube, allegedly. What I'm saying is that this is what they do. We saw them do this before. And they're like, yo, that worked. Let's advocate for that to happen again.
That on that side, they don't want that.
It's funny. You know what they do want, though?
Yeah.
They want voter ID.
Yeah.
They're all hot for voter ID as the thing that is going to, like, secure the election. So
Hold on. You're against voter ID, right? So let me get this straight. You need an ID to open a bank account. You need the ID to buy alcohol. You need to present an ID in order to buy your cigarettes. You also need an ID to buy a gun. You also need an ID to rent a car. You also need an ID in order to get on the plane. You need an ID to apply for a job. I could go on and on and on. You can't even rent a house. You can't even apply for a mortgage. You can't even check into a hotel. You can't even pick up prescription if you don't have an ID. So it's amazing that you need an ID for all those things, but when it comes to voting, no ID, no voter ID. You don't need no ID. Just show up, and just tell us your name. We'll believe you. Idiots. I told you was saying a lot of stupid on the show.
I say, if voter ID is so important to you, if you think that that's what it takes to secure an election, let's make a trade.
Can I ask one follow-up?
You get
Good luck.
You get voter ID, and I get mandatory automatic registration.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Says no? And I promise you, it's the Republicans that say no because they don't want more people voting.
Yeah, we don't want illegal people voting. You guys want more illegal people voting, especially when you saw Trump win the popular vote. People from your own side said that you guys were so crazy that they had to vote for a Republican. And now you're big mad. Now you're real mad. And you think that these illegal aliens that Poopy Pants Joe Biden spent years infiltrating our country with was going to prevent Trump from winning and get that cackling hen Kamala Harris into the White House to finish what Joe Biden started. Well, actually what Obama started, but you get what I'm saying.
It's not about security. They don't want more people voting.
Oh, I was just going to say, so some countries automatically at a certain age register you to vote. Would you be in support of just universal, you turn 18 and are registered?
Not just some countries. Most countries that are not us either have automatic registration, mandatory registration, where you pay a fine if you're not registered, or same-day registration. Pick one. There are lots of democracies out there. Pick one. We do it the dumbest way.
Wait a minute. Which one is it? You wanted to abolish registration. Now you want us to pick a registration law that's similar to other countries? Am I taking crazy pills? What in the world? Which one is it? You ain't gonna gaslight me, Fat Albert, okay? I know what the hell you're doing. You sit up here and say you want to abolish registration, and then you say, well, we need to pick one. There's 3 other ways that the other countries would do. Hold on. I gotta act like I'm out of breath because I've been eating too much fried chicken. We need to get pick one. We need to have one registration. These daggone Republicans. Give me a break, dude. Are you serious? God, dude, this is so stupid. I'm going to have to listen to some classical music to get some of my brain cells back from this. And they clapping like seals.
How's your blood pressure?
Okay, I can stop right here. He thought he ate with that. Are you kidding me? And now old Battle Axe over here going to promote his stupid book. I had to go do some digging, and I had to show you some receipts to why these demon rats want to abolish voter registration. Here we have Valor CEO Antonio Garcia, along with Doge, discovered that illegal aliens are not only receiving social security numbers and welfare benefits, but are also voting in our elections.
Well, it made my jaw drop too when I saw it. We were in Social Security looking for fraud, waste, and abuse. And to do that, we actually looked at the enumeration system, the system by which people get numbers in America. And we found that there were just about 5+ million of them that came to the country as illegals, were giving various forms of parole or allowed in the country, and they got through an automatic system, Social Security numbers, to get into our benefit systems. And we tracked that through and found that they were on the benefit programs. And just because we were curious, we then looked to see if they were on the voter rolls. And we found in a handful of cooperative states that there were thousands of them on the voter rolls, and that many of them had voted.
Also, since you want to talk about the Voter Rights Act of 1965, that was another act that was overwhelmingly supported by Republicans. And last but not least, and honey, let me tell you something, I can do this all night long. Which political party supported segregation of blacks from whites during the 1900s? And as you can see, it was the Democratic Party, okay? So I don't want to hear what Buffalo Butt over here has to say in reference to the amendments that he thinks should be abolished. How he thinks we should get rid of voter registration. Who cares what this old man has to say? He means nothing. He's trying to sell a book. And I'm sorry, I'm so tired of the whole white man bad, Republicans bad, Democrat always good, Democrats always looking out for the black community. I'm so over that. But what you're not going to do is revise history. Not on my watch. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I want you to show me by leaving a hamburger emoji or a poultry leg emoji. Once again, if you made it this far in the video, I want you to leave a hamburger emoji or a poultry leg emoji, and I will like your comment. All right there, taters, I gotta go. Let me see those emojis in the comment section. Be sure to like this video so I can get caught in the algorithm. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Later, taters.